and welcome to my first CK3 video. Today we are going to be looking at the top 10 factions for new players to start as in CK3. When you join the game throws quite a lot of factions at you, and hopefully we can try and narrow that down a bit. So, although there are factions in all of the start dates that can be fun, we will be focusing on the 1066 world map for new players, as I feel that the 867 one is more suited to more experienced players and is more enjoyable once you have a better grasp of some of the basic game mechanics. As a new player, being confronted by this screen here is kind of insane. The amount of different factions to play and different sub-factions within them is quite daunting. But I shall try and pick ones from around the world that are enjoyable and not too difficult to play. If you're a new player and having just come out of the tutorial, playing as Munster. So, the first faction today is Makuria. The reason Mercuria gets the number 10 spot on this list is because you start in control of a lot of land. Almost all of your duchy, essentially, is owned by you. You have very few vassals, and the vassals you do have are not nearly as strong as you. You start off with earning a fair amount of money for a 1066 faction based off, and some nice starting gold that you can use to do whatever you'd like with. You also start with a lovely military presence, which includes some siege equipment that you can upgrade and use to take land around you. Your king himself he's okay. He's not amazing, but he's certainly not bad. You do start off with an heir, and the heir himself can grow to be a very, very good character. You can also marry him into some very powerful alliances, such as the Byzantines up here, which is what I like to do when I play them, which not only gives you access to them as an ally, but also further traits down the line. You are also surrounded by not one, but 3 or 4 much weaker nations that you can holy war against because you are Coptic. There is Muslim faiths all around you. To your south is Coptic places, and you will have to come up with a reason to invade them. But once you take Naquis, you can then go after the other Muslim factions that inhabit the Middle East, South Middle Eastern area of the map, or you can go round and take a lot of these more Coptic and other religious nations below you. You also start with quite a few buildings in a lot of these, including the ability in some of them to build duchy buildings that you could save up for, including this Grand Cathedral in this province here, in Grinetti, which gives you a huge 2 tax a month and 20% taxes, as well as a huge piety bar, which is an incredible thing to make, and all you need is 600 gold, so you can make that kind of your first target to build, which is often what I do. Second up is King Iziaslav of Ruthenia, this Russian faction over here. So looking at Ruthenia, you start once again with quite a healthy gold income, and a sizable army actually. Once again, siege equipment that you can upgrade in your military tree. You also start with a dynastic legacy to unlock. And in fact, I believe that yes, you're close to being able to get a second one already when you start off, because your dynasty is already quite sizable. You do start off married, and with the seducer trait, you'll be popping out a lot of children with Queen Gertruda, unless you happen to be incredibly unlucky. But you already have 2 sons, one of whom owns Novgorod up here. And this is where Ruthenia gets quite interesting. So ordinarily, the king would inherit Galicia, which is a kingdom down here, upon your death, whilst your other son would inherit Ruthenia. However, if you can find a way for this son to die, whether it be in battle, in a war, if you put him as a general in your army, this son will become your heir. And although this other son will then get Kingdom of Galicia, when he inherits, you will also get the Kingdom of Novgorod along with it. Now, you don't have to do this, but it's quite a nice way of being able to get both lands at once. You are surrounded by members of your family, people you hate, and a lot of them are a lot weaker than you, like Ruthenia, for example. In Chernigov, to your right, you have de jure claims on a lot of the counties in there, which you can take slowly. You also have claims on the actual principality at the south of the nation. as well as a couple of the northern ones. And you have religious regions to attack the pensionegs beneath you. You can also go north into a lot of these smaller lands, which, if you take places like Polotsk on, once you're able to have a casus belli on them, a lot of these places will agree to subjugation. At number 8, we have Mijinjaa, over here right on the Asian border of the map, with King Liuangzhou. Mijinjaa starts with a sizable army of nearly 3,000, when considering that a lot of the people beneath them barely have 2,000. It's a very powerful position to be in here, with the Kocho being the only big nation near you, and them actually starting with less men than you. Over here, because you are feudal, you do start off with vassals, but you also have subjugation, which you can do to many of the people to your south as casus bellis, as well as de jure claims on a lot of the land down here. You start off with no wife and one son, which is a great position to be in, because you yourself can either look for somebody to boost your own traits, or somebody much older who you know you're not going to have any more children with, or if you would like some more children, you can also go down that route. You also start with the intelligent perk, and although this son does not have it, it does not leave the bloodline, and if you have any more children, they could inherit it, which is a great perk, which a lot of people seek out in the later game, and can lead to genius perks as well. So you can find yourself a wife who will give you a child of the same style of religion. You are also of the same religion as a lot of the people around here, which means that your head of faith does not exist, and so you can create a branch off relatively easily if you want to, without upsetting any bodies in particular. You start off with only 2 of the things in your kingdom, so that might make you seem quite weak, but you do have the ability to make duchy building here, which is always nice, especially some tax officers. And you also start off with a council of very appreciative vassals, and considering you're quite young, they'll like you for a while. Your steward, for example, actually has quite a nice stewardship score and really likes you, as does your spymaster and your marshal. You could get rid of your chancellor, replace him with many of your vassals, most of whom really like you. At number 7 is one of my favourite nations, which is Apuila, in the south of Italy, with Duke Robert the Fox. So his nation starts off earning a fair amount of money for quite a small nation. He himself is quite old, but has a lot of children and has the robust trait which gets passed on to a lot of his children. Your player heir, who's Roger, does not have it, but has the hunchback trait, which can be quite annoying, but it doesn't stop him being a decent heir. It kind of just limits him a little bit, and you can always try and have him killed before you die in whatever way you'd like to, whilst a lot of your other children are female or with different women. It is a bit of a shame that this disinherited one, you could restore his inheritance. It would only cost 75 and you wouldn't lose a lot. If you do that, he then becomes your player heir, and you keep the robust trait, and although his mother is a different woman, doesn't really matter because he's not considered a bastard by anyone, and already at the age of 11 he's got 13 intrigue, and so he becomes your heir, which I think is really quite nice. You also start off with a fair amount of men at arms, considering your size, which isn't costing you tons either, as well as the ability to attack a lot of the Muslim nations to your south, as smaller nations such as Malta down here. Although you start off with a ton of men, a lot of these nations don't start with a lot of men either, and then you can holy war them and take bits of their land using your piety. Being so close to the Pope, he does tend to see what you're doing and will begin to like you, as well as the fact, with all of these unmarried daughters of yours, you can get some excellent alliances with the Byzantines, with the Holy Roman Empire, France and Hungary, to name a few. It's also a great nation if you want to play tall, because you start off with 2 very well developed provinces, including this one at 13, one with a duchy building slot, and the ability to take small amounts of them from people nearby to you. You can get him. You can get your priest to fabricate a claim on all of these smaller nations, so that you can then invade them. And that is why I think Apuila is number 7 on this list. Now, at number 6, we have Paramara in India. Now, a lot of these Indian nations could have filled this slot. Most of these are quite fun. I just chose Paramara mainly because of the leader that you get. So he himself starts off quite young and unmarried with no children, so you can work out what you would like, whether you want an alliance or a good trait or a mixture of the two. He starts off with really poor intrigue and martial skill, but really nice learning, which gives your piety a nice boost, as well as the ability to have secondary spouses due to his religion, which is always useful, forming alliances apart from anything else. You're able to make a dynastic legacy, which is always fun. And always a useful thing for new players to be able to do at the start of the game, giving them a nice little boost to whatever they would like to go with their family that they're going to make. You start off extremely wealthy, earning nearly 10 gold before your costs, and without the Royal Court DLC that will be higher. And I would also recommend going straight into your Royal Court and just turning some of these down. You don't need them this high, this early in the game. You're quite a small nation, and look, that's just gone up to 7. And your men-at-arms themselves, you start off with a very nice archer unit and a Managol, as well as some special men-at-arms. You start off with some very, very high development places, probably some of the highest in the game. You start off with 3 of the 4 settlements in it, and all of them have 25 development, which is insanely high for this time in the game. They themselves have some lovely buildings, like the Iron Pillar of Dar, giving you a lovely development growth buff. This one itself has Grand Temple, which you can build, which gives you a load of gold. And then your other settlement, your other duchy, which is the Duchy of Anupa down here, also has a duchy building accessible to it. And also starts off with quite very high development at 18, as well as full control everywhere. And considering that a lot of the people around you are much weaker than you, start off with nearly 4,500 men, it is not hard to wander in and take a lot of this land off them with subjugation. And number 5, we have Denmark here in the north of Europe. With King Svend II. Denmark itself starts off in a lovely central position, not at war with anybody, but with a nice troop count to protect itself from its neighbours to its north and to its south, although the HRE obviously has quite a few more than you. You start off with an elective vote system for your successor, as well as a dynastic legacy to buy and the ability to be close to the next one. If you have the Northern Lords DLC, you get some lovely Viking bonuses with this top one here, and pillage is fun as well. And both of them, you'll be very close to unlocking the next one. You start off earning a lot of money, including the ability, if you would like to go to your court and turn off the amenities, like so. And there you are, you're suddenly nearly making 10 a month, which is insanely good for this early game position. You can sell your trivial titles as a Viking as well, which is a cool decision, as well as some cool Northern Lord stuff that you get in there if you have the DLC. You start off with the ability to marry someone if you would like to, as your previous wife has died. And you have a brilliant stewardship and Midas touched, so you can marry either for a trait, although at your age maybe not, you've got a lot of children already, or I would for an alliance power. You can get some great ones with the Byzantines or with Normandy, who will soon take England, and you can help them invade. You yourself start off with 15 children, which is, someone got a bit busy in the bedroom. But because it's an elective system, it doesn't split apart on your death. Currently, your player heir is Prince Harold, who has some pretty decent stats apart from being Marshal. You also start off with quite a few different lands, and I like starting like this because you have multiple duchies, which means that if you have any uprisings, you can pick which duchy you would like to maintain because you have buildings in all of them. This one itself starts off with some nice buildings and duchy building available. This one starts off with farms and fields, which is good for money, and this one here has some nice military buildings as well as a harbour. You also can go straight up to limited crowd authority immediately if you would like to. You also have a great invading ability. As you see, you can start off with 5 different people, and a lot of them, these ones down here, are much weaker than you, and you have good reason to kill them. And at number 4, we have the Kingdom of Scotland with King Malcolm III. Scotland is one of my favourite factions in this game. Starts off with a nice troop count of just over 2,000. You start off with the ability to unlock a dynasty legacy of any form, although you are not close to the next one. Your king himself has the quick trait, which is great because in Europe the quick trait is not nearly as common as it is in Asia. And so to be able to have it and for your children to be able to inherit it is excellent. Duncan has not inherited it, unfortunately, and neither has Donald. You get quite unlucky with your son's trait sometimes, but that does not mean that it's not a good trait to have in the family. You also start off with the decision to vassalize immediately this man of the Sudreyar here, who owns all of this land here. Now, I tend to go for it. I can't see why it's a bad decision. He will only go for it with low feudal obligations, but to gain all that land is excellent, and he's not that strong militarily. But you don't have to. You can take it through war. You have de jure claims on quite a lot of it, as you can see here. So you can take it through war, because once that alliance with Norway dries up, you'll be able to go down that route. You also start off with quite a lot of perks of diplomacy, which is great for working at stuff, and it also gives you the ability to start with Commission Epic, which is one of my favourite decisions, because you can make a cool item for your entire family, and it only costs 50 gold, so I tend to get that going straight away. Building-wise, you do start with some nice stasis, although they are a little bit scattered out, but 2 of them have duchy building slots, which is nice. But also, you can choose to ally either with Norway or with Normandy down here. So when they invade and take out the Kingdom of England, you too can help them out and get some war resources from it, but then you have an alliance with them which will allow you to go and invade Ireland or Wales and help them in their invasions as well. And at number 3, we have the Taherths here in North Africa. You start as quite a young guy with a son, despite the game not telling you have one, but you do have one, with your wife, who does happen to be a giant, but that congenital ability doesn't appear to have got to your heir. You have some very nice, kind of well-rounded stats by your learning. And you're making a fair amount of gold, 4.8. Being not a kingdom, but a clan county, it gives you the ability to kind of upgrade your titles when you would like to. You start off with 2,000 men, which for a nation this size is not bad at all, and the ability to declare war on 6 people around you. And as you can see here, you have a lot more men than a lot of them, and you have some very nice conquer Muslim-based invasion points on Tanas, on Guardia beneath you, the Maghreb Emirate over here. And as you see, you can create a duchy if you would like to. But as you start off with 4 counties, maybe you do, maybe you don't. It's up to you, really. You also start off with some lovely buildings. You start off with this duchy here. You start off with all the ones in your nation. Obviously, there is this one here, which is in someone else's realm, annoyingly. But you do start off with a lot of very nice settlements. The Willia here is with some pretty nice early game development at 16. And then you start with crops and farms, fields and stuff. You also start off with the settlement here. This one's not as good, but it's still earning you a bit of money. At number 2, we have Castile. This could very much also be Leon and Galicia. All 3 of these 3 brothers, are of equal strength, to be honest. They all start off with a similar number of men and a similar gold income. But Castile is my favourite because Sancho is just a bit of a cool Chad. The nation itself starts off in a lovely position here, surrounded by the ability to take out nations to your south in holy wars once you get enough men to. You start off unmarried, but quite youthful and with an excellent martial skill, which should allow you to take out anything you would like to. You yourself can either marry for traits or for good alliances. She is always a good person to go with, and get yourself a good heir set up, allowing you to kind of decide that whilst you're very healthy and quite young. You start off with a fair amount of gold being earned, and obviously you can knock off another one with the court amenities again in the royal court if you would like to, but that's up to you. You start off with the ability to inherit a lot of this land. So these two kingdoms here and here, you can take them by force because you have de jure claims on them, because obviously they're your brothers. But if you'd rather be intriguing, you can raise your heir to become very good at intrigue, and assassinate them, because then you are first in line and you will inherit them. If you can, you start off with a few buildings, mainly in the Duchy of Castile, which is this one here. Nothing too incredible. A couple of nice developments and some farms and fields and duchy buildings available, but nothing, that screams incredible, other than the Alcazar here, which has an amazing 5% holding taxes, big renown boost, and of course fort level, which is just lovely to have, and is one of the best buildings in Spain, actually, the Alcazar. Navarre and Barcelona, you also are related to some of these. These are cousins of yours, so you have de jure claims on their land as well. And they are, well, this guy, much weaker than you. I'd go and take him immediately, to be honest, before he gets any allies. And at number 1 on this list is not the Kingdom of France, although they are fun. It is actually the Duchy of Normandy. This is one of the ones the game recommends for new players, and it can be quite daunting for new players if they play William. Because you start off at war with Harold, and although you start off in a war which you should be able to win, it can seem quite terrifying. If we look at the war screen here, you yourself have a lot more men than him, but you need to be able to get them all over there. However, there is a very easy way to win this war. You yourself have these extra men, this host raised here. If you get your army, and you raise it in the province next to it, just unpause that for a second. You get an extra 1,000 men on top of that. You've got 7,000 men. You just head straight across the channel and take Luz, move up here and take London. He should be busy in the north, and even if he comes down to get you, he does not have the allies, the troop count, and you will beat him in battle. And if you do that, you probably should be up to about 50% there. If you've beaten back his army too, you can just loop round and take some more land, and you will go up to 100% very quickly. And take England. And once you have England, you will become the King of England, and you will earn a lot of money. You'll have the ability to expand in all directions. You yourself have some excellent traits and an excellent wife as well. And all of your children also have the ability to marry on into alliances which you can use in your invasion. You also start off with some of the most money in the game, with 666 gold. This amount of money is great for either, if you would like to hire mercenaries, you can. I wouldn't recommend it. You don't really need them. But if you would feel more comfortable having an extra 1,000 men at arms, get yourself a nice group like one of these down here, like the Band of Genoa or something. Or you can save the money for when you take England and have to hand out the land and such, and get yourself some stuff built, because you do only start off with one down here, which is why you want to be taking England as quickly as possible. But you start off with a huge number of men and a huge amount of gold, and one of the easiest wars in the game to win, really. It's scripted, it's nice and easy to take, and once you've taken it, you end up with one of the most powerful nations in the game, and the ability to fall yourself in on this island, take out Wales and Ireland, who are all these shattered little places, and unite England and become an incredibly powerful either economic or military powerhouse. You also start off with Dynastic Legacy, which is always fun and enjoyable. So, thank you very much for watching the video today. I hope you enjoyed it, at least to some extent, and that you found the information useful or found some cool nations for you to try out in your next CK3 playthrough. Keep an eye out for more videos of this sort, and if you enjoyed it, please consider giving it a like and or a subscribe. Thank you folks for watching, and have a good day.